Hello, and welcome to episode 26 of the Nourish and Strengthen podcast. And I'm so excited to have another guest on here with you guys today. And I know she's really going to help you. She has so much value to add. We have Marci Owen here. Thanks for being with us, Marci.
So excited to be here.
Yeah. So Marci has a lot of value to bring. And so let me kind of just give a little background on her. So she is a former group fitness instructor. She's an advanced certified life coach from the Life Coach School. She's a self-love and confidence coach for women. I love that. She's actually a coach for Jody Moore in her Be Bold or Better Than Happy program. I love Jody Moore. Or are we big fans of Jody Moore around here? Yes. And she's
Lots of
also
people are.
Yes, for sure. She's advanced trained in nervous system regulation. So she has a really important subject for all of us that we want to talk about today. And so we're going to talk about how appreciating your body just as it is will then fuel weight loss, right? And I feel like it's so common that we get this wrong. Don't you think, Marci? Oftentimes we go backwards, right? We think that we're trying to almost hate or be dissatisfied to get our body to change. What do you think about that?
Oh, yeah, because people think that, well, if I'm not critical, of myself in this process, then I'll slack off and I won't
Mm-hmm.
I won't follow through. I won't stay on my diet. I won't, and you might experience temporary success this way. And so it can kind of fool you, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, well, I was really hard on myself and I actually lost the weight, but it's not sustainable. It's not, you can never get a positive result with a negative mindset that's long lasting. The
Oh,
answer's
that was good.
always, the answer's always learning to love yourself and then make friends with your body. If we can't love it, let's see if we can appreciate it. And that's what I want to, do that today. I have this quote that I love. And I said to my body softly, I want to be your friend.
Oh, I love
And
that.
it took a long, deep breath and replied, I have been waiting my whole life for this.
Oh,
Don't you think that's like for us women?
yes.
We just have a hard time
Yeah.
appreciating
That's
our body.
amazing. Oh my gosh, I love that. And you mentioned you can't have positive results with a negative mindset. What did you say? Say that one more time.
You can never get lasting positive results with a negative mindset, with
That's
a
amazing.
critical voice,
Mm-hmm.
punish you. You can't
Right. Right.
because
And I wonder if that kind of plays into everybody's yo-yoing
yeah,
for sure.
you know what? The mindset, the mindset part and the is what's missing in the diet industry. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, that's why you have Abby be your mindset coach. That's why
Yeah.
like you touch on it, but a
Mm-hmm.
lot of other, you know, areas, other people don't,
Yeah.
because that's where you get the success for it
Absolutely.
to stick.
Yeah, I will tell everybody that Marci is working with Coach Janie on our team. And so that's how she knows we have a mindset coach for our clients. And our clients get one call with her every single month. It helps so much. I want to go back to something you said. You mentioned, I tried to write this down word for word, but I didn't. You said something about um, you if you can't love your body, at least try to appreciate it. I love that
Yeah.
because if someone is really in, like I remember when I was going through my weight gain that I went through a few years ago, I really tried hard to love my body, but it felt real fake. It did
Right.
not feel real. So let's go into what does that mean to appreciate your body and how can we kind of use that idea?
Okay. So the concept is we're going to love ourselves and have body acceptance. Okay. They go together. And so
Okay.
for the positive results, um, when we love ourselves and we accept our body, and if you can love it, great, let's love it.
Sure.
But some of us, that's too big of a
Yeah,
stretch.
big of a
So,
jump, right?
but so if we can just accept it the way it is, it'll take a lot of the misery out of weight loss, process, because you aren't judging it, you aren't being
Mm,
critical about yourself. You're coming from a place of kindness and acceptance and love and even patience,
mm.
so like let's just define what self-love is for a minute, because
Okay.
a lot of women have a hard time with that. They think
Sure.
it's selfish,
Mm-hmm.
which it's
Yeah.
not.
Or it's a bad
Uh,
thing, or you're egotistical
yeah,
or something like that.
yeah. And it's appreciation for oneself. And we can even like put that appreciation for our body
Mm-hmm.
and having a high regard for your own well-being and happiness. Self-love means taking care of your own needs and not sacrificing your well-being to please others. It means
Mm.
embracing and appreciating yourself, your flaws and all, and then knowing that your worth isn't determined by your body or your appearance.
Mm. That's amazing. Yeah. I love that. I love how you said it means taking care of your own needs and not sacrificing your well-being to please others. Because that's so often, I mean, I hear so often from moms that are like, oh, I don't want to spend money on myself. This is kind of a
Yeah.
little bit different. Sacrificing your own needs for the well-being of others. That's more about boundaries, I'm hearing. You know, if too many people are asking you things and you're not able to prioritize yourself, that kind of goes in that direction as well, which I really like.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think as women, we're nurturers. We want to
Mm-hmm.
please people, and we're kind of socialized that way as well. And so sometimes we don't know to say no.
Yes, it's so
Like it's
hard.
not okay for us to say no. We feel bad if we
Yes,
say no, but
right.
actually it's okay to say no sometimes
Yeah.
when it's like not good for us.
Yes. Something I heard recently was if it's not a hell yes, it's a no. Like if you're not thrilled about doing it, then maybe you shouldn't do it, you know?
Yeah.
But I don't, it's a little tangent, but let's talk about confidence. So we have seen women of all body shapes and sizes that like just rock it with confidence. And
Mhm.
it's so beautiful. How can we take a page from their book and feel more confident even when we haven't reached our goals
Yeah.
yet?
Well, that's why I wanted to touch on self-confidence, because or self-love, because
Mm-hmm.
that self-love and confidence are entwined. It's really hard to be confident if we aren't loving ourselves, if we're not
Mm-hmm.
kind to ourselves, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And when you love and accept yourself, then it's this powerful source of courage and confidence.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the driving force of taking risks or pursuing a goal like weight loss.
Mm-hmm.
It's going into losing the weight. We can have this mindset that once we see that number on the scale or fit into a certain size pant, then we're going to be happy or worthy
Yes.
or acceptable. It doesn't work that way.
Right.
The fact that you're a human being, that automatically gives you your worthiness. It's not
Mm.
earned. It just is,
Mm-hmm.
because you can't, and also, sorry, you cannot do anything that decreases your worthiness. Like we can't lose weight. We can't gain weight that would make us decrease our worthiness, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
we can't lose the weight and think, well, it's going to increase our worthiness,
Sure.
right? It's
Yeah.
steady. You're worthy, you're lovable, just as you are. You
Right.
just aren't happy,
Yeah.
right? Because they're
So,
missing that key ingredient.
okay. Yes, that makes total sense. How can we, so how do we, sometimes I feel, sorry, I'm thinking through my thoughts here. Sometimes I feel like people can tell me that or tell someone
Right.
that, but it doesn't really sink in. Like, how can we nurture more of that self-love, or how can we create that self-acceptance if we're just not really feeling it?
Right. Yeah. And that's a journey.
Mm-hmm.
And I am going to address that. I do address that at the
Perfect.
end
Okay.
with the points,
Okay.
because
Awesome.
it's not something you can't lie to ourselves.
Yes. Right.
And so we can use what I'll teach at the end about bridge thoughts,
Okay,
you
awesome.
know.
And I mean, sometimes there's so much like toxic positivity out there. It's like, just think happy thoughts and you'll be
Yeah.
okay. Like,
Yeah.
I'm excited to hear about the bridge thoughts.
Yeah.
So, you bring up a really good point here. So, if we know these things deep down, like I mentioned, we know we are worthy, we are lovable, but still it's just kind of like you're just feeling down and like blah. Like, what is that key ingredient you mentioned?
Yeah. So this has been huge for me, because again, like I was saying, so many of us tie our worth to the number on the scale or what size pants we're in, right?
Mhm.
And, or we look at our bodies and what they can or can't do for us. And especially as we age, that gets tough.
Yeah.
When we're not as strong, or we can't do what we used to do.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
so the thing that's been life-changing for me is to realize I'm a dual being.
Okay.
Okay. You're not your body. And so, if you could see me right now, like I'm holding up my two hands.
Mhm.
Okay. And one hand represents like my body.
Mhm.
My other hand represents me, like my spirit. And if spirit doesn't work for you, it could be your essence,
Your
your
soul, whatever.
soul,
Mhm.
whatever. But
Yes.
there's a being inside this body,
Mhm.
right? That's who we are. And
Mm.
we make way our body looks or weighs a moral issue,
Mhm.
that our worth is defined by it. And they're two separate things.
Yeah.
There's a body, and then there's us, our spirit. We're
Interesting.
dual beings. And I like to think of it as your body is a vehicle that carries your spirit around,
Mm. Yeah, I like that.
that lets you experience life, right? And so think of this analogy is really helped it land for me, where
Mhm.
you've got your car, right? We have a car, and we go and we sit in it, and it drives us around, right? Where we want to go. It's our car. It's
Yeah.
not me, but it's my
Yeah.
car. But and the same thing with our body. We're riding around in this
Yeah.
body just like we do our car. And and here's the thing, like think about when we get in our car, put it on, think about what the engine is doing. All the moving parts in there. We don't think about it. We don't think about the pistons firing or the
Mhm.
belts
Mhm.
moving. Like we don't think about the fluids, the spark plugs. You push a button and your radio turns on, and you're like,
Yeah.
you think about how the sound waves, all that comes through your speaker. You roll your window down.
Yeah, it just works.
It just does it.
Yeah.
And we I think we tend to do the same thing with our bodies. We don't
Mm.
realize everything our bodies are doing for us.
Mhm.
And and so we think, and just be like, I get in my car, I leave my car, like it's in the garage, it's not me.
Whatever. Right.
Yeah, it's metal and 4 rubber tires, right?
Right.
It's not, you know and so we don't notice what our bodies do for us because they're just doing it 24/7. And if I can just share this quick. I have a couple sisters that have passed away of cancer.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And my first one, she was 41.
Mhm.
She was a
Oh.
marathon runner. And she, it was it was a really tough thing. But because I saw her lose her abilities and her freedom,
Mhm.
I thought that I loved my body. I thought I appreciated it because I was like, I work out hard because I can.
Yeah.
My thing was because I can. But I learned the more I did this work, like actually, I appreciate what my body does for me.
Mhm.
I appreciate that I can work out, but I'm not loving my body.
Yeah, interesting. That's a great analogy or story that illustrates what you're trying to say for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. And so just learning how to actually see it
Mhm.
and transform that relationship so that we actually appreciate it. Like you were asking earlier, like, well, it's one thing to be, oh, well, we'll just say that I love
Yeah.
me or I love my body, but like, how do I actually do that? This is the part where we're actually going to transform that a little bit.
All right, awesome. Yeah, talk to us about that. So how do we get us to that point where we can do it and believe it and have it be an impactful
Yeah.
experience?
Yeah. So we want to think about treating it with kindness and gratitude,
Mm-hmm.
right? And shift from being critical. It and which then when we do that, just put a little note here that it helps your weight loss journey be so much easier. And this is where it like can actually last, because we're not using that critical voice like
Yeah.
that's negative, right?
Right, right.
And so I have a couple of things like did you knows
Okay.
about our body,
Awesome. I
right?
loved it. I loved it, you
That
knows.
yeah, me too. And so when I read these, I just started to have this sense of love and
Mm,
appreciation for my body.
that's awesome.
So like our eyes. Okay, Lindsay, did you know that your eye does what it does? Like, do you know how it automatically focuses?
No, I
Like,
don't.
yeah, it's got nerves and muscles that control our eyes, makes a single image a three-dimensional image. And it's connected to our eyes are connected to our brain.
Uh-huh.
And so it records what we see.
Wow.
And yeah. And then like our heart. How much do we think about what our heart does for us?
Well, I personally think about it a lot because my husband had open heart surgery a couple of years ago. But before that, not at all.
Right? Yeah.
Yes.
So it's this amazing pump. It has 4 valves. The valves open and close. This is mind blowing to me. More than 100,000 times a day.
Wow. That's insane.
That equals 36 million times a year.
And that's going on in every single person's body, no matter how healthy you are or just everybody.
Like, thank you, heart.
Right, right.
You know, I mean, I just like and that's very tender spot for me because my died of a heart attack,
Yeah, yeah.
and so I appreciate the heart,
Absolutely. Same
you
here.
know, right?
Mm-hmm.
But do we notice it? Do we appreciate it? Right?
Right.
Think about the body's defense system. Okay. It protects us from harm. It perceives pain. If we have an
Mm-hmm.
infection, it generates antibodies. The skin, it provides protection. It warns us against injury if it's too hot, if it's too cold, and it renews its outdated cells. Like I had this huge blister and it like
Mm-hmm.
healed itself. That's pretty incredible.
It is incredible. That's amazing, right?
Yeah. I mean, you get a cut and it just like knows how to just regenerate the cells and heal,
Yeah. And
and
we don't
covers
ever
from
sit down
bleeding.
and think about this stuff ever.
No, we're just like, sometimes we can be like, well, I was, sometimes we're like so annoyed when it gets
Yeah.
injured
Yes.
or when we get a cut or when it holds us back,
Right.
but we don't be like, thanks for taking care of that. Like
Yeah.
that.
Or thanks nerves for helping me feel pain so I don't keep my hand on the hot stove until it burns
Right.
off. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. So it can heal cuts, bruises, broken bones, which is amazing. Right.
Yes. Right.
It can like, my goodness, some of us as mothers, like it can make another human.
Yeah. It's insane.
It's amazing. So it's constantly regulating, which it levels of, you know, countless ingredients, salt, sugar, water, protein,
Yeah.
oxygen, carbon dioxide, the regulators, like it's all doing just going on for us. And so I started to realize, oh my word, my body is doing some pretty miraculous things without me even asking it to, without me
Yeah.
even thinking about it.
Right.
And so, that just understanding that, like, I like my car. I appreciate my car.
Right.
I like that it takes me around it and go fast and I get around somebody, like, you know what I mean? But
Yeah.
like, But to realize, oh, 36 million times a year, heart, you.
Yes.
I think we have to just be more aware of what our bodies are doing. Like it's
Hmm.
like separate ourselves from it and look at it.
I
Like,
love
oh,
that. That is an amazing visualization. Like thinking about, yeah, if you can't see Marci right now, she's separating two hands apart from each other, and one is her spirit or soul or herself, ourselves, and your body. And just thinking all those did you know facts that she just gave us about your body and just really cultivating that appreciation. I love that. Thank you.
yeah. Yeah. Can I share like a personal story that
Yes, please.
even drove that home a little bit more to me?
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I've had 3 rotator tears
Oh my.
and repairs on my
Oh,
right shoulder.
oh, that's so frustrating.
And you should feel sorry for me
I do. I do.
because those are brutal,
Oh.
brutal, brutal to go through. Okay. And right, like you don't want to tear your rotator muscles. Take good
Mm-hmm.
care of them.
Noted.
Um,
Okay.
so a few years ago, right before COVID, my left shoulder, I had one of my rotators tore.
Oh, and you're like, not the other side too?
Yeah, I was really upset about it.
Yeah.
Because I was like, I am not doing this again because they're so brutal, right? And I'm
Yeah.
like, I'm not having to undergo surgery and going through all that pain and that rehab
Right.
and that limitation. And so I was really frustrated. And I remember saying that my left shoulder was stupid.
Which I think that's fair to say and think. But I
Right.
think you have
And
a
that's what I'm
reason
saying.
for
Like,
it. Yeah.
we get so annoyed with our body when it gets injured or when it's sick or like, even I've had coach clients on like when they're having a period and they don't feel like we get so annoyed with our body when it doesn't do what
Yeah.
we want it to do.
Right. Even
Right.
if
And
it's
so,
doing normal body processes that are actually keeping us alive and healthy.
yeah, I was really frustrated that I tore it. I was scared and I'm like, so stupid. And I'm telling you what, huh,
Wait, sorry, Marcy, pause. I didn't hear what you said. My husband edits this, so we're good. But you said I called it stupid, and then your audio cut out.
okay. Can you hear
There,
me okay?
perfect. Yep,
Okay.
perfect. Okay. Do you remember what I'm talking about?
Um,
Just go back
yeah.
to. Okay.
So it was like my shoulder talked back to me.
Oh.
Uh-huh. And this is where I want us all to get where we like see ourselves as a separate being, right? And it's like, really? You're calling me stupid? Like, I have been picking up the slacks all these years. I've been carrying the load.
For
I'm
your right
like,
side.
and when the right side wouldn't work,
Yeah.
I was doing double the work. I have
Uh,
been loyal to you and I'm tired. You don't pay any attention to me. I'm tired. And I was like, oh my gosh,
yeah.
that really, really hit me hard. And I was like, oh my gosh, you're right. You're not stupid. Like, you are loyal. You have done, like, I know what I've been through, and I
Right.
know how much work it's been doing for me
Mm-hmm.
without me really thanking it,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
even like paying attention to it. And so from that day forward, I started looking at my body as like another being.
Wow. That is
And
that is super impactful.
that's what I want, like, as we think about being a dual being, that's what I want everybody to do. Is I want you to look at your body like it's another being, like it's a
Mm-hmm.
living, breathing being, because it is.
Yeah.
And it
Yeah.
needs your love, it needs your attention, it needs your care, it needs your support.
Yeah. I love that.
That's how we can, like, think about it. If your body was your child or somebody
Mm-hmm.
that you really cared about, how would you treat it?
Yeah. That's super eye-opening to think about, right? You wouldn't say near the things that you do if you were thinking about saying it to your best friend or your daughter.
Yeah. How would you talk to it? How would you take
Mm-hmm.
care of it? It'd be different,
Yeah, for
right?
sure.
And we probably wouldn't get so impatient and irritated with it,
Yeah, yeah.
when it gets injured or sick, or as we age and we have the hormonal changes that come.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, and so it's just like, if we can just separate ourselves from our body and see it
Mm-hmm.
in this light instead of all the flaws and the things we don't like about it, it can help us love it
That is so
and
huge. I
accept it.
love that. That's awesome. What a great experience that you have and you're able to share.
Yeah.
So you mentioned some mindset tricks to kind of help us bridge that gap. You mentioned bridge thoughts. Let's talk through that for a minute.
Yeah. Um, Let me skip down to that. Okay. So the 3 mindset skills. Can I, your husband
Yeah.
said
Yep.
can I
Yep.
just
We're
say
good.
something,
Yes.
one thing? Um, there was a little bit more that I wanted. Are we okay with time? Can I
Oh
say a
yeah.
little bit
Yeah.
more about
Yes,
that?
we're fine.
Just
Yeah.
to
So
help
back
people
to, yeah.
know how to talk to it and that.
Okay. Yep. Yep. So back to where before
Okay.
I took us off on the mindset skills.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me just find my spot where I was.
Okay. You're good.
Okay. So here's some ideas of how to talk to your body.
Okay.
Tell it thank you. Like when you go to bed at night and you lay down, or even throughout the day, tell it thank you for taking you on a walk. While you're on
What?
the walk, tell your legs thank you, you know, or digesting your food. Thanks. Sorry, I put a little bit extra calories on it today, but thank you for doing what you do with it.
Yeah, I love
Apologize to
that.
it. Like, I'm sorry. I'm sorry that I was mistreating you, or I'm sorry I was so rude to you. Sorry I
Mm.
talked bad about you. I know this might sound kind of weird, but
No, I
try
love
it.
it. Yeah,
Try it and see how it
definitely.
feels. See how that
Yes,
lands for you.
for
You know,
sure.
think about it. You have a relationship with it. Is it abusive or is it nurturing? Is it kind or is it
Mm.
mean? Is it one that's being totally ignored, or are we connected?
Yeah, I love
Um,
that.
do we listen to it? That really, I had to, and I'm still learning how to listen to it. My shoulders were probably giving me hey, just a heads up,
Yeah,
but I
warning
was
signs.
so not listening to it. I didn't know that I
Sure.
could,
Yeah.
right? So listen to it. Um, when it needs food, give it food. When it needs rest, rest. Um, what do you like? What self-care do you need? What does your body need for self-care? What love
Yeah.
does it need? Um, so when I separated myself and my worth from my body, it was so much easier to have develop a relationship. Just like I said at the beginning, with that quote. Let's see, where is that? I said softly to my body, I want to be your friend. It took a long breath and replied, I've been waiting for this my whole life,
Yeah. That's
and so
beautiful.
that's how we can become a friend to it.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
I think that the idea of separating you from your body is the key here because it can be
yeah,
so hard when you think about building a relationship with yourself like you mentioned before. It does feel a little bit selfish and a little bit egotistical, but when you think about separating that, it kind of makes that whole idea of, oh, I have two things here that I'm building a relationship between, not just really me with me, if that makes
yeah,
sense.
yeah, yeah. I love
Mhm.
that. Yeah. So the other thing that I noticed, because I think a lot of us have a hard time with obsessively thinking about our
Mhm.
body in
Mhm.
critical ways.
Yeah, yeah.
And so I just noticed that once I did this, it was so much easier to manage my thoughts.
Oh, okay. Let's
I
hear it.
was able to, um, when a critical one would come up, just like how my shoulder supposedly
Yeah.
talked to me, it was like, no, actually that's not true. I can just talk back to the negative thoughts that may come up, but I don't obsessively think about my body and how it looks anymore.
Yeah.
It quiets that voice down.
And so that's
Because
simply by just saying you think a negative thought and you just say back to it, no, that's not true. Just send
yeah,
it on its
because
way.
like this skills that I'm going to share with you, like we're not going to be able to completely turn it off. That's just our lower
Sure.
brain, and that's what
Sure.
it does. But
Uh-huh.
we can, the obsessing part,
Yeah.
we can actually quiet that down.
Yeah.
Because we're not, that's the part about, we can't always be critical and think that we're going to get a positive result, because there's
Mm-hmm.
all the chatter that's always talking at us. And then we just want to buffer and go eat food. But
Gotcha. That makes total sense.
yeah. So
Yeah.
it's easier then to just see who we are, our gifts, our strengths, and all that, because we're separate, right?
Yes. Yes. I can see that.
Yeah. Yeah. So the 3 mindset skills that I want to share with you is, and this one was helpful for me when my coach offered this to me, because I had gained my weight back. I had a couple of years previous where I had my last shoulder surgery, and I'd gained weight on, even though I was a fitness instructor,
Mm-hmm.
I gained this weight, and I went through a process that with a coach that was really it was bad.
This was a previous coach, not Janie.
Yes,
Just
no,
yes.
yeah,
Just to be clear.
yeah, and it was bad, and so but then I gained the weight back recently,
Mm-hmm.
and so I wanted to do it again. Like, I know I'm a weight loss certified coach. I know I have the minds. I know all the things, but I
Yeah.
could not do it
Yes.
on my
I think
own,
that I think
right?
that's a great point too, because we talk to women every day who are like, I know what to do, but I can't make myself do it. And they
Yeah,
just can't bring themselves to get a coach because they think they know what to do. And I'm like,
right.
coaches even get coaches. Even if you know
Coach
what to
needs coach.
do, you need help actually implementing it. Anyway, that
Yes.
was a
Yeah.
tangent. So,
Right. No, but it's true. Coaches need a
yeah.
coach, right? And so I was struggling because I was afraid because of the experience that I had. I did not want to do it. I did not want to do it again. And it's what we call a secondary gain. You
Mhm.
want to lose the weight, but you sabotage yourself because underneath it was like, we're not doing that again.
Right.
Right.
So you mentioned it was a really bad experience. Do you want to go into any more detail just so people can kind of understand, like, oh, yeah, that's why she doesn't want to do that again?
Yeah. So he had me on way too low of calories,
Mm-hmm.
and I trusted him. I'm like,
Yeah.
well, I'm teaching these intense fitness classes. Are you sure?
Yeah.
And he was like, yeah, this is where you need to be. And so I was so hungry.
Mm.
I was starving. I was freezing, and it was like 100 degrees outside.
Oh.
And and so it was just, and by the time I got done, my immune system was compromised and
Oh
I got
man.
sick. My last appointment with him, I had laryngitis,
Oh.
and I was so sick because my body didn't have what it needed to take
Yeah.
care of my immune system, right?
Yep. Yep.
And so I was sick for 6 months.
Oh my gosh,
It took,
Marcy.
I got a sinus infection that would not heal. I was on all kinds of prescriptions that messed my flora up.
Yeah,
I
for
had to have
sure.
surgery. It was awful. And then
So
he
a very
died in the
traumatic
middle of it. I mean, it
experience.
was bad.
Oh my
Yes.
gosh.
It was it was it was
I
bad.
didn't mean to
And
laugh.
so
I just was like, it was a very
yeah,
traumatic experience. And then you said he died, and I was like, oh wow, that was really traumatic experience.
okay. Double traumatic,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
So it was just bad. And my brain's like, the secondary game was like, yeah, we're going to sabotage her. She
For
wants to lose this
sure.
weight. And so we're going to make it. The brain just does that to protect me. It's like,
Yeah.
no, we're
Yes.
just going to eat this food. We're just going to have a little bit more.
Yeah,
And
because we don't
no,
want
we're
to go
not
down
going
that route again.
to,
Right.
right. And so when I was talking to my coach, I'd been following you for quite a while, I
Mm-hmm.
knew all about you. And I was like, maybe that's what I ought to do. But I was scared.
Yeah,
I
I
didn't
don't blame
want
you.
somebody being on a restrictive thing. And so I was talking with my coach about it, and she said, so this is the first one. Now we're getting to the first one.
Okay.
So she said to me, you are the sky. Okay. And this was just really important for me to realize this analogy was, you're the sky and everything else is just the weather.
Mm.
Okay. So rain or shine. So weight loss, injury, hormones, whatever it is,
Mm-hmm.
stormy, clear, daytime, nighttime, sunrise, sunset, the sky is always above all the changes that roll through.
Wow.
So viewing everything from above and just being it, and just being itself, right? So like
Yeah.
there's a bad weather pattern that's moving through. So you could say, like my weight loss could be a bad weather pattern moving through, but if I'm making it mean I'm bad, I'm not above, I'm like down in the storm,
Yes, right. That makes
right?
sense.
So aging, what happens with our skin, weight gain, whatever it is, whatever we have going, whatever storm we have going on in our life, if we don't love ourselves, if we're having a hard time with that, or relationships, whatever, we're always the constant. Remember, we're that dual being. We're
Yeah.
that being that's the
Above the weather. I
constant.
like that.
Yeah. And so I can't make the wind stop blowing,
But you can be above it and just look
but
at
I
it.
can be above the storm. And so
Yeah.
it's important to understand where the resistance is. Like, what I was saying, like, oh, it was the secondary gain, right? But just learning to accept whatever the storm is,
Mm-hmm.
right? Whatever's going on for our body right now, whatever the number on the scale is, and then learning how to care for it, and
Mm-hmm.
the self-talk and all that. That is, being the sky
Yes.
even in the storm. Does that make
Yeah.
sense?
Yes. Yes. I love that. That's a really good
Yeah.
analogy. I like
So
that.
as soon as she said that to me, I was like, I made the call.
Yeah. That's
I got on the call. I'm
awesome.
like, I get it. Just was that missing piece for me
Yes.
to be,
Like I am above this and I can take care of it.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
That's awesome.
yes. So you are the sky and everything else is just the weather. The second
Mm.
one is bridge thoughts. Okay. And so if we're used to being judgmental and critical, we can't just go from one extreme to the other, like we were talking about
Yes.
earlier.
Right.
So if
Right.
somebody's hated their body or have body shame or loathing, we're just not going to be able to go, oh, think happy thoughts. And I
Yeah.
just
I love
love my body.
everything. Right. I love how I
Yeah.
look all of a sudden.
Yeah.
Yes.
We can't lie to our brain.
Yeah.
We have to notice the new thought. We have to notice so the bridge thought is, you say, I am becoming
Mm.
a person, and then fill in the rest. Like, so I'm becoming a person that appreciates and accepts my body.
Mm.
That's who I want to be,
Yeah. Yeah.
and so my brain can get on board with that. If I'm like, I
Yes.
love my body, it's like, no, you don't.
Right. Right.
But if I'm like, I'm becoming a person
Who
I want
XYZ.
to become. Yeah. And so
Yeah.
that's how, because we can't lie to our brain.
Yeah.
So but we can say, I'm becoming this person
And
that
honestly,
loves
probably
myself.
the more times you say it, that probably helps in becoming that person.
Yes. Yes. And so if it's important to practice saying that
Mm-hmm.
throughout the day, especially if the negative thought comes up,
Right.
it, like, even if you can do it in the mirror, write it down,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
write it each day, or have it on a sticky note that you read, or on your phone, like whatever, because we want to we want to replace, it's like a new neural pathway. We want to quiet down. We want to do a new path
Mm-hmm.
with the new thoughts, instead
Yeah.
of let the old ones just always come in.
And does that
And it
just come
might
through
set,
repetition?
yes, we have to be intentional, and we
Uh-huh.
have to be consistent.
Yeah.
And we can't just give up. Well, this isn't working. Like, no, we have to stay at it. Just as we've practiced saying the old thoughts to ourselves so many times, it's a
Mm-hmm.
habit.
Mm-hmm.
And so we have to be consistent in building a new one, a new
Okay.
thought pattern.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so I don't know, like when we get in front of the mirror, that can be hard. Right. And so
Yeah.
even something as simple as be like, yep, there I am. That's my body. Be that neutral about it. That's my body.
Yeah, I like that because it's so easy to look in the mirror and think and pick out all the things you hate and start talking about your cellulite or your wrinkles or your whatever. But just to say, that's my body.
Yeah.
Just that
Yep. There
neutral
it is.
acceptance. Yeah.
There I am. Yep. There it is.
Well,
You
and
know,
that probably
and
helps with the obsessing, like you mentioned. If
yeah,
you
it
start picking
does.
out all the negative things, that's what you think about. But if you just think, there it is, and keep
There it
moving,
is.
what are you going to do?
Could be
Yeah.
even be like, yeah, sometimes bodies are funny looking,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know. Think and I kind of then listen to what comes after because I remember when I did that at first, it's like in my body, I offer up like, yeah, thank you, body. Or and it's good. Like that was another thing that came from the
Mm,
inside. When I just was like, yeah, there's my body, and thanks, body, for figuring out what to do with those extra calories I put on you.
yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for taking care of me. You know, so just start to that's not a bridge thought so per se, but
Sure. Sure.
it's goes with it. It can go
Yeah.
with it.
It's just a thought that you're choosing to think and focus on instead of the
Yeah.
negatives. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I also even just love again thinking of as a being like I'm working to love you.
Mm-hmm.
If we can't say I love you, then I'm working
Oh,
to
I
love
love
you.
that. Yeah, that's
And
awesome.
and I'm learning to love you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. I'm going to
Mm-hmm.
take better care of you. Like talk to yourself like you love and accept yourself.
Yeah, I love that. I like those
Yeah.
thoughts instead of I'm learning to love you, I'm trying. I like that.
You see how that's like works on being real about it instead of,
Yes.
oh, just think a happy thought,
Right. Yes.
you know?
And I think anyone who's trying to appreciate their bodies more could honestly say that because that's the truth.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So the third one is your past self and your future self.
Okay.
Okay. So depending on where you are on your journey, I'll just use a couple of like an example. This end of August, went on a couple of trips, and I've been on in your program since like the towards the end of June,
Okay.
and I'd lost like I can't remember how much weight, but I'd lost some weight, 10 pounds or so.
Uh-huh.
And I got on this trip and I'm like, I don't want to go backward. I had 2 trips back to back weeks. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so as I was working with Janie about how I was going to plan for it, I just thought, I'm just going to take my past self on the trip with me.
Oh.
Like think that past self that had been putting in all this work for 3
Mm-hmm.
months and she'd been so committed. Sorry.
No, you're good.
She'd been so committed to following the meal plan, to doing the workouts, walking, like all the things. She'd been
Mm-hmm.
so committed. And I thought, I'm going to take her on the trip with me. And
I
I'm
like
going
how
to,
you're even just saying that. I'm going to take her. Like you're visualizing her as separate from you that you're going to bring like your
yeah.
buddy.
Again, these are mindset skills, right?
Yes, right.
Yeah, that work.
Uh-huh.
But I wanted to honor her and
Right.
her hard work. So it helped me. I had her there with me on the trip. It had me make food, with my food choices and not to overeat.
Mm-hmm.
It helped me say yes to things and no to things. And like, yeah, I'm just going to go ahead and have this treat. Where other times I didn't even think about it. I didn't
Really?
think about having the treat where before I would have been like, yeah, let me have that. It was a beautiful thing to just take our past self, like what's she been through,
Yeah.
you know? And then the future self is, well, okay, let's think about her.
Mm.
We want to set her up,
For
right? We
success.
want to
Yeah.
take care of ourselves right now so that we set her up to have a healthier, future.
I love that.
And so to think of her and like even the thing is we can get wisdom from that future self. Like ask her what would she say to you? What would she wish for me to do for her right now?
Hmm. That's a great journaling prompt too.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So those are the three
I love
mindset skills that
those. That's so awesome about just like visualizing, well, your body is separate from you, your past self, your future self. I just think all of this separation that you're talking about can be so helpful in building that self-love and confidence, because I mean, like I mentioned before, it can be so hard when you think self-love is focusing on me as one being, but like how you're talking
Mhm.
about dual beings, past self, future self, our bodies as being separate from us, it just kind of makes it all feel so much more doable.
Well, and think about it, it goes back to the I'm the sky. Because if we have a bird's eye view,
Mm-hmm.
we're separated from the body a little bit, and it makes it easier for us to be more empowered
Yeah, yeah,
because we're not the body, like we're not in it. Does
right.
that make sense?
Yeah, and then it makes it easier to make those decisions that are going to be better for our body, our past self, our future self, all these things, as opposed to it feeling selfish.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. So, if you don't mind me asking, how has your experience with Janie been compared to your last coach?
Oh,
We're going to do a little plug here.
oh my gosh. Night and day.
Oh,
And
that's
I'm
so
like, I was
awesome.
almost like at the beginning giddy.
Really? Just from the beginning. How did you know from the very beginning?
I wasn't starving. I had
Uh-huh.
what I felt like was a reasonable caloric intake.
Mm-hmm.
And so I loved that. At first I didn't like she gave me a menu, she gave me a meal plan for the
Sure.
first week, and
Uh-huh.
I was used to like to having it be every
The ongoing meal
catered to
plans.
me, right?
Yes, right,
And when
right.
she said, "No, I just do the one," I'm like, "Oh,
Yeah.
no."
Yeah. It can be frustrating at first, but you probably understand now why we do it
Oh,
that
yeah.
way. Yeah.
It's so much better because
Yeah.
I'm choosing what I want to eat. I get to
Yes.
eat foods that I like. I don't have to feel I can plan a treat in there for her to say, "Have the treat."
Yeah.
Was so much opposite compared to what I had before,
Well,
you
and you
know?
mentioned to me before we started rolling that tell me how many cookies you can have in one sitting now and feel okay with it.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, I can have like my thing is chocolate. I
Okay.
love cookies too, but
Well, yeah.
where
I just mean like you can have one serving and move
I
on.
can have one Lindor ball
Yes.
instead of
Yes.
5, 6, 7 because
Right.
I'm more satiated. I'm not starving. My
Mm-hmm.
body's fueled with, you know, a good amount of protein and carbs and the fats,
Yeah.
and it's just running nicely like I'm have premium gas in there, you
Yes. I
know,
love that.
and so I'm not craving sugar, which
Yeah.
I've never been able to experience in my life. I was blown away by that at the beginning. I'm like, what in the heck?
That is amazing. And then finding that moderation is what, how much have you lost so far?
I'm at 13.
Oh my gosh, that's incredible.
Yeah.
Incredible, Marci. That is so, so
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah. So it's just been, it's not scary. Like it's just such a better experience to, and it's more empowering,
Yeah.
even though I didn't like that I had to figure stuff out at the
Yeah. It's
beginning, you
hard for a
know,
couple of
I
weeks,
get
for
it.
sure. Yeah.
Yeah. There's a method because it's going to
Yes.
set me up to be, uh, you know, more, what's the word, more skilled
Yes. And
after.
reliant on yourself, not relying on a
Yes.
coach. We don't want you to need us forever.
Yeah.
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 What would you say
So
to someone who's scared to jump and take the leap and sign up for coaching?
I would say to do it because um it we don't want to be let our fears dictate our life,
Mm, I love that.
you know, and I had to realize what my secondary gain was. I had to realize what was behind the fear.
Hmm.
Oh, it's because I don't want to suffer. Like my body's like, no, we're not doing that. So I had to realize, well, what's behind the fear? And then just to love yourself enough if that's something that you want, but we're not doing it to be so that we can love ourselves to lose the
Hmm.
weight. We're doing it because that's what we want, just to
Yeah.
make improve our quality of life because we know we'd feel better, have more energy or whatever. To do things like we can do things scared
Yeah, I love
at
that.
the beginning, be scared and make the call.
Yes. Not be scared so you don't XYZ.
Yeah. Don't let that run your life.
Yeah, I like putting in the word and in there.
And is huge. And I like to put it
Yeah.
all in caps and like pay attention
Mm,
here.
right.
And I can do this. And I'm
Yes.
going to make the call, and I matter.
That should be your fourth mindset skill right there.
And
Yes, put the word and in there
yeah,
after whatever you're struggling with.
yeah, I could give you a lot of mindset skills.
Yes, I'm sure you could. But that's a good segue into how can my listeners find you and learn more of your mindset
Oh,
skills and what you
oh,
offer?
okay. Well, I have my own podcast as
Oh,
well.
awesome. Yes, let's talk about it.
The Courageous and Confident Christian Mom podcast. Don't
Okay.
let the Christian parts scare you away if you're not Christian.
I'm sure you speak to everyone.
Yes.
Yes.
And so that's my podcast where I talk about all kinds of, different things. But I have a website, marciowen.com.
Okay. Owen, not
.com.
Owens.
Marci
Yes.
Owen. Yeah.
Okay.
MarciOwen.
Okay. Uh-huh.
And then I'm on Instagram. So Marci.Owen coaching.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect.
So
Yeah. We'll send some people your way for sure from this because you gave us a lot of really valuable takeaways. I've loved it. Anything else you wanted to add before we close it out?
If you're someone that struggles with the negative self-talk, I've got a free video series that I would
Oh,
love to
awesome.
just share with your listeners.
Yeah, for sure.
And so
Where do they find that?
Can you put that in
Oh,
your
yes, I do. I have that. I have those show notes, or I have that link and I'll put it in the show notes. Yep.
Yeah. So it's called how to overcome negative self-talk and cultivate. There's the and
There you
cultivate
go.
self-love.
Okay, perfect. We're going to put that link. I forgot that you sent me that link. So we'll put that in the show notes for everyone to just click on over to it.
Yep.
Okay. Thank you so
anybody
much,
wants to
Marci.
schedule a call with me, they can do that too.
Perfect. Perfect. I'm sure they can see that on your Instagram and we'll tag all of that as well in those show notes. So thank you so much for being here, Marci. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. I loved it.
Okay. Talk to you soon.